Hey, what's up there out there, Creek and Ruco people? It's good to see everybody again. Hey, thanks again to Mr. Smith, Braxton Carrico, SCTV for being able to put all this on and put it out there on social media to be able to help everybody out getting ready for the ACT. So today what we want to do is we want to take another look at math, but we want to take a little bit more in-depth look. Our previous math video was about how do we approach specific problems and to do it and utilize our three keys. Today, though, we want to take a look and help you individually figure out not only what your goal is going to be for the math, but how do you achieve that goal. And we're going to look at three very distinct ways of doing that. So we want to package this into three different areas. Number one, what if your goal is to get a 22 to a 24 on the math? All right, we're going to have a very specific approach for that. Number two, what if it's a 25 to a 28 on the math? And number three, what if it's a 29 or above? But some of you may say, Coach Harris, well, I only got 16 on my practice. I want to get a 20. Listen, I want to show you a way or a method where, let's just call it like this. If you approach it the right way, I think you can get a 21, a 22, or even a 23, 24. Now, we have to figure out that best way to do that, so I want to present that to you right now, okay? So what are we going to do if the goal is a 22 to a 24? Or maybe it was previously something lower than that. First of all, we need to understand how ACT scores their math test. Okay, so it would make sense if I made a 30 out of 60 on the ACT math test, that I would get an 18 out of 36, okay? The highest possible is 36. Half of 60 is 30. Half of 36 is 18. But that's not the case with ACT. If you look at the way they score it, very often when they release their scoring reports or their scoring charts, a 30 out of 60 will be somewhere in the neighborhood of a 20 or a 21. Well, I mean, if they're going to give me a couple extra points, I'm going to take advantage of it. So knowing that, we want to be as wise as we possibly can when we approach that math portion. So now, instead of being overwhelmed, because everybody knows 60 questions, 60 minutes means 1 minute per question. Look at me. No, absolutely not. I don't want to hear that out of your mouth, and I'm not going to say it again. Okay? That right there, that 1 minute per question minute jumps on us, and it's like, okay, I'm stressed now because I know I only have a certain amount of time. Now, check it out, please. All right? If you approach it that way and you practice it that way, then that test anxiety is going to jump on your back, and you're going to be overwhelmed by it. Now, let me show you what I think is a better way. Now, let's go back to this thought right here. All right, how many questions does it take to get to a certain score? Well, let's first put the authority in your hands. What if you were a C-level student in math? A normal C is about an 80%. Okay? Well, let's think about this for a second. 60 questions. What if, instead of 60 questions, you put an emphasis on your best 40? Okay, something to think about right there. So if you did your best 40 and you got 80% of those right, that's 32 questions correct. We're starting to get to a place where we see where this could happen. So that's 32 out of 40, okay? Now, at 80%, if you've already demonstrated that you're a C-level student, then you should think I could do about 80% of the material, okay? Well, 32 out of 40, well, hold on. We got 20 questions over here we haven't even touched. We'll come back to those. 32 out of 40, 30 out of 60 equates to a 21. 32 equates to a 22. But you haven't even tried 20 questions. Well, what do you think we're going to do with those 20? You think we're going to leave them empty? Of course not. Everybody knows that you have to make sure you're bubbling something on every single ACT question. If you don't answer it, you won't get it right, guaranteed. But if you do answer it, you might get it right. So on these 20 up here, okay, the 20 that were leftovers that you chose not to work, you're going to put the same answer. B, C, D, whatever you choose, okay? You're going to put the same answer. Then, using just a basic theory of statistics, if you have 5 possible answers, all right, and you put the same thing, more than likely, you could get as many as 4 more out of those 20 correct. Guess what? You didn't even try them. and they were 20 that you didn't feel very confident in going after. All right? These are your best 40. Okay? You're owning the process, not being owned by the test. So we're going to take these 4 and we're going to add them to those 32. And now it's out of 60. So that gives us 36 out of 60. All right, which equates to a 23 or 24 on the ACT math. All right, so let's think about this. I was stressed out before trying to answer all 60 questions in 60 minutes. But now, Coach Harris, you're telling me don't worry about 20 of the questions. Put your focus on 40 questions that you get to choose. And by doing that, you're now taking the authority over the testing process. I'm down with that. But now, let's get back to nuts and bolts. How much time does that give you now per question? Well, let's think about it. Let's do it like this. If I took my first 20, okay? Or let's say your first 20, because it's going to be your test. Your first 20. I want to take 27 minutes to get those done. Then I'm going to take your second 20. I'll take about 28 minutes to get those done. Okay? Yeah, you can do the math and figure out. Basically, it's about 1 minute and 20 seconds here, about 1 minute and 22 seconds here. I don't know about you, but I feel a lot more confident if I have about 30% more time to get something done than what I did before. Okay? So about 1 minute and 20 or so, about 1 minute 22 or so right here on these. Your confidence should start to go up because, number one, you're choosing the ones that you're answering, that you're going to put your best effort into. Number two, you're going to have more time on it than what you did before. Now remember, this is if your goal is a 22 or 24 on the ACT math. Okay? How do we achieve that? We're doing it like this. Now look, y'all, I can put this on the board all day long. I can stare at this video all day long and say, all right, this is a cool idea. If you don't practice like this, though, it's not going to help you. Okay? It's kind of like prepping for a ball game or something like that. There's times and places that we do end up having full effort team going against team in practices. Now, we don't often do it for an entire game. Okay? That's set aside for a scrimmage or something like that. But when we're doing 20, we want to sit there. If we're going to do our first 20, we want to set aside time, quiet time at home or school, whatever, where we're sitting there with our stopwatch on our phone and we're putting that on 27 minutes and we're selecting our best 20 to work first. Then walk away from it, come back the next day. Of course, grade them, see how you did. Walk away from it, come back the next day, and then do your second 20 and give yourself 28 minutes. Yeah, but Coach Harris, what about those extra 20? Check this out. That's 55 minutes. Okay, you got 5 minutes left over to bubble in for the remaining 20. Okay? Now, again, this is about you owning the process of improving your score in this test. What I think I just put on the board, or what I put on the board, I think can be useful for you in helping you get that score higher on the ACT math. Now, there's a component of it where you got to practice it the right way, where you got to put your effort in the right place, where you have to make sure you're recognizing the problems that you're more confident answering. Okay, if you're an integrated 3 right now and you haven't been to pre-calc, you're probably not going to want to answer pre-calc type questions. Okay, if you see something up there, you're like, oh, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's matrix multiplication or equations of circles or something like that. We haven't been exposed to it yet. Gotcha. I understand that. That's okay. I'm putting the authority back on you to you select the ones that you're going to do best on. And again, put it into practice the right way. So that's what we're going to do if our goal is a 22 to a 24. Now, if you have questions on that, hit me up on Twitter at CoachPT91, or you can send me an email, harrist@rcschools.net. Okay, now let's go from 22 to 24, and let's go a little bit higher. Maybe you're a pretty good math student, and you feel like, you know what, I think I'm going to be able to do a little bit better on this test. Maybe you've gotten a 23 before. Maybe you've gotten a practice and you've gotten a 24, and you want to take it to the next level, and you say, okay, Coach, there's a couple different ways that I think I can improve, but what would you suggest? So glad you asked that. So let me show you what I would suggest. If our goal is a 25 to a 28 on the math, two different methodologies for this, okay, that I would suggest right now. Number one, you're a pretty good math student, okay? Maybe you have a little bit of confidence with this. Number two, again, we want to go back to you owning the process, okay? So the two methodologies are this. Let's say your math score is an A, maybe a high B, something like that. And you want to take advantage of maybe what we just talked about for the 22 to 24. All right, the first methodology is this. You're still going to own 40 questions. Okay? We're going to have the first 20. We're going to have the second 20. Okay, we're still going to be 27 minutes. We're still going to be 28 minutes. Okay, but you want to push yourself and you want to get to that place to where you can get in here 25 to 28. So you're going to seek to get 90% correct. Okay? So that's going to be 18 correct right there. 90% there. That's 18 right there. We're already at 36. 36 out of 60. But remember, we got 20 over here that we're still going to bubble in on. B, 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 whatever you decide. Add those four. That gets us to 40 out of 60. Okay, which usually equates to a 26 or 25, 26, 27, depending upon the test, on the ACT math. Okay, now, maybe you move through these questions a little bit quicker. Maybe you saw that last video on how do you approach the questions and use the 3 keys to maximize your score. So maybe you're able to get through 22 here and 22 here. You get 90% correct. That's moving the score up. Again, if you practice the right way, you start to demonstrate a little bit more proficiency with the particular types of problems. You get a little bit more confidence with it. You can get a few more done possibly. Okay, especially if you're that A or B student in math. All right, that's first method for getting a 25 to 28. Second method is going to be similar to it, but it's going to be tweaked just a little bit. Okay, so what we want to do is you're going to pick your best 50 questions. Maybe you're in pre-calc right now. Maybe you're in stats, in dual enrollment, something like that. And maybe you don't necessarily feel comfortable with those really super difficult questions, or maybe you're just going to understand, hey, there's 8 or 10 on there I don't feel all that confident with. That's fine. All right, we're going to pick our best 50, okay, and we're going to try to get 80% correct. Again, it's C, okay? If you go a little bit higher, great. Okay, that's lanyap. That's going to be Cajun word right there. It means a little something extra. So by owning those, you get 40 correct. Okay, if you get 80%. Well, y'all, if you get 90%, you get 45 correct. Now we're starting to bust it even higher. Okay, 85% would be about 42, 43. Okay, now, this is the second concept for 25 to 28. We have 10 questions left over. Okay, by bubbling in the same thing, we're going to get 2 out of those 10. Statistically, we should. Okay, add those in right there. That gives me 42 out of 60 correct, which should get me to a 27, 28 on the ACT math. Now, timing is a little bit different. First 25, you're going to have 27 and a half minutes. Second 25, actually, you know what? We could fudge on that a little bit. We'll go straight to 28 minutes. All right? Second 25, 28 or 29 minutes. That gets us to about 57 minutes on this. Now, you only have 10 questions left over. Okay, it's not going to take long to go B, 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 all right, on those 10. All right, the cool thing about this is you own the process. Now, the time, you get a little bit of time left over, you know, 1:04 to 1:07 seconds, something like that, to be able to get those. But the great thing is, you're already a pretty confident math test taker, okay? This just gives you a couple different methodologies to get to that 25 to 28, okay? Select one. If it works for you as you're practicing, stick with it. If it doesn't, go try the other one, okay? But what it does is it takes advantage of you selecting the problems that you're going to be most confident with and you're going to work on. And the cool thing about that is it raises your confidence level that much more, okay? Especially on the math where so many people tend to struggle. All right, So we got one more that we're going to look at, and that is, how do you score a 29 or above on the ACT math portion? Let's be very candid. If you're trying to get 29 or above, you're a rock solid math student. Okay? You're not going to need a whole lot of help with content to be able to get higher. Okay? What yours is going to have to be is practicing certain ways to take the test. Understanding how to approach problems. I allowed that last video that I posted a couple days ago. Now, I will put this up here for you for how you should practice stuff. Okay? And there are some specific timings with this. Now again, I'm putting this up here. Listen, learn, but more important than that, put it into practice. Okay? And also, when you practice, please make sure you're practicing in an environment that as closely as possible replicates the ACT environment. The reality is, you're not going to be allowed to listen to hard rock music while you're taking the ACT. When I study, I enjoy studying with music on, background noise. We all know it's there for us. You know, we got that white noise and everything like that that's going on in the background. I enjoy that. But when I went to take that ACT a year ago in July, guess what I didn't have? Noise. It was so quiet, it was deafening. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just quiet in here. Don't tell anybody, but at one point I just knocked the pencil off my desk just to break the monotony. Okay, but anyway, if you know it's going to be like that, which it will be, then practice like that. Okay, try to, as closely as possible, fit the environment that you're going to test in. Okay, that was a nice little drying time to let the board dry while I was waiting. All right, so check this out. ACT, 29 and above on the math. All right, this one's going to be pretty simple and pretty straightforward. All right, you take the first 20. Give yourself 15 minutes. Okay, that's 45 seconds per question. All right, second 20. It's going to be 20 minutes per problem. All right, 1 minute per problem right there. All right, and then the third 20. Look, here's the reality. If you're trying to get 29 or above, you're really not going to have any issues from a content standpoint. Okay, so you're going to be pretty confident going in on the content. But we still want to practice a particular way. The third 20, you want to give yourself 25 minutes. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me tweak this. I did this wrong. All right, let me change this. That was my old method for doing that. All right, first 20, give yourself 10 minutes. 30 seconds per question. All right, second 20. Give yourself 15 minutes. 45 seconds per problem. Third 20. So 35 minutes per problem right here. Look, here's the reality. You're not going to have a problem finishing the test. What you're going to have to do is prioritize the ones that need more time. Okay? So I can put the time in here. It's going to be 1 minute and 45 seconds per question, but you're not going to need that per question. You're going to have 5 or 6 or 7 questions that are going to need more time. All right, you're going to have to take a step back periodically and be like, all right, how do I approach that problem? Okay, finishing the math test. If 29 and above is your goal, finishing the math test is not going to be an issue. It's going to be about prioritizing the questions, making sure you approach them the right way. Now, when you practice it, I would sit there and I would take a practice test, which if you haven't found out, there's a bunch of them posted on my webpage. I also have about 300 copies outside my door if you're an in-person learner. ACT.org has copies of them. Yeah, but anyway, there's lots of tests available for you. But practice the way you're going to perform on the test day. All right, so sit there, give yourself 10 minutes. Put the timer on, try to do 20 in 10 minutes. One of the keys for doing that is to try to do as many as you can without a calculator. Okay, I know we love the calculator, but if we plug in something wrong in the calculator is going to do exactly what we say, and we could make mistakes. Do the second 20 in 15 minutes. Don't do them back to back. Walk away. Go get something to eat. Okay, go take the dog for a walk. Do it another day. Okay, but you want to approach that second 20 with a different mentality. And finally, the third 20. Look, this is where your money's going to get made on the math. Okay. These tend to be harder problems. Some of them are statistics problems, some of them are pre-calc problems, some of them are problems that combine 2 or 3 different concepts all together. They're not so easy to approach. Okay? Get that mental focus. Okay? Now, for all 3 levels, 22 to 24, 25 to 28, 29 and above, I would encourage you to do this. On test day, If you're moving from your first 20 to your second 20, or you're moving from your first to your second to your third, those transition moments, take a deep breath in that moment. What you want to do is you want to almost hit a mental refresh button. Hit a mental refresh button and put yourself in a place where it's like, okay, what do I do in this second 20? What do I do in this third 20? All right? And then dig in with everything you got. Good luck to all you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you find it helpful. Again, follow me on Twitter at CoachPT91 or send me an email, harrist@rcschools.net. Take care.